Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Hi, and welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. I'm Mike, and I am here with the lovely Jamison.
Hello.
How are you this lovely night?
Oh, two lovelies in one sentence. I'm good.
I'm not quick enough to diversify my verbiage on that short of notice.
Yeah. You made yourself nervous.
I always do.
Right? Well, I'll buy you a thesaurus for Christmas or something.
You would think by the 5th season I would be highly relaxed and be able to do this seamlessly.
Oh, I think it's flawless every time you do it.
Right. I appreciate that. Just in case anybody's wondering, she's lying. But
sometimes things just need critiqued.
no, today was a pretty nice day outside. Like, we had all these plans. It was going to be clean up around Dabble, put some stuff in. We had to put some safety poles in because of a whole nother issue. But turned out to be a really gorgeous day outside, which is completely different than what we had last week, which was attempting to cook us.
Oh, yeah. I stayed in a lot last week because I don't know if you know this about me, but I burn very easily.
Well, and pollen count in the air and some other things that were happening. The world was out to kill you last week.
It was. I still have residual stuffy nose, sore throat from all the allergens, but I think I made it.
Well, for anybody here in Michigan, they know today and yesterday way better. And I also know in a lot of parts of the world right now you're heading through heat waves, so I do apologize. Our 95 degrees is probably not excessive in some areas, but to us it hurt. It was quite humid and quite warm, and it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was. We had baseball playoffs all last week, and that was pretty interesting.
Yes, it's not that Jameson is on a pro team and in the playoffs, but Grayson, our son, is. Aiden also had his graduation during some of the sweatiest days of the year.
He did, but he got a dunk tank, so I was a little jealous he got dunked.
Yes, open house, not the actual graduation.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to kind of rehash some things this week. We're just getting back to the show. We're just starting to kind of get in our groove on making sure shows are done and on time and coming out. And I thought maybe we should go back to some of the earlier shows and just kind of catch up a little bit. The most listened to show that Realistic Sustainability has ever had is the Sustainability for Noobs episode. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I'm surprised because I don't believe I was on that one. And, I figured I was the most famous person here on this podcast.
I'll have to look it up and see where the first one you're in
Just
falls
kidding.
in there.
I'm absolutely kidding.
But there's a handful of shows that have quite a bit more than than normal. And this is one of them, which is that or learning the early sustainability stuff, learning some of the terms and getting a better understanding. So, and here we are, was it 5 years later? We figured let's rehash some of that, go over some of it, and let's see how we or humanity has done within that last 5 years.
Well, and I have to say, I think that it was probably one of the more popular ones or the most popular one because that is truly what people are looking for. Because in a lot of podcasts about sustainability, they talk over your head or they expect you to do the extremes, and it's not practical for a lot of people.
So again, I was playing around with TikTok because at some point we're going to have to put some stuff on there too. But I was playing around with TikTok and I put in sustainability, and really the vast majority is someone at home talking about their home.
Yeah.
That is 95% of all sustainability videos is talking about plastics and baggies and Tupperware and laundry detergent and dryer balls, which, yes, so have we.
Hmm.
But they don't go into sustainable thinking. They don't go into how everything can be looked at in a different manner when you're thinking about sustainability. And it still drives me bonkers. I mean, there's still some interesting stuff, and I still watch some of them, but it seems to always be the same. You're right. Either really extreme, we're all living in a mud hut, pooping in a hole, or we're learning about sandwich bags, which, hey, I'll take that knowledge. But I think there's so much more to sustainability. There's so much more to understand personally. You can look at your city in a different way, your state, your nation, or even the world through the eyes of sustainability. So, first things first, let's define sustainability. Now, 5 years ago, I said this exact same definition. 5 years ago, it was still being argued in colleges if it fit the concept of sustainability. I think now it's become more of a common acceptance definition. So it's
So,
made some progress in that manner, I guess. What was
so
that?
what's that phrase? What's the definition here?
A societal ability to meet its needs without compromising or sacrificing the ability for future generations to meet theirs.
Hmm.
So that we
And
live within our means and we don't take from future generations. We're talking about, are we degrading soil to a point in which future generations are going to have trouble producing enough food? Are we degrading the environment, the air, the water? Are we living within our means, keeping it at a level of equilibrium so that the next generation can do the same?
and why were they arguing it?
Because yes, I think it's a very good definition. It's
I well,
easy
I
to
mean,
understand.
I'm not being I mean, you laugh. I'm not being silly. I'm genuinely wondering what the other options were.
There were several. Let's just say most when it comes to science, sometimes they like to get a little wordy. And even this one is a little wordy.
Yeah, I had to put my thinking cap on for it.
So it is sometimes those definitions they forget that they need to be something that is easily understandable without having to break out a decoder ring. And I
Right.
think this became the happy medium.
I think I like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you had to off the cuff at the moment, do you believe that the United States, the state of Michigan, or even our household is living within that definition and that means?
I do not think on a regular basis that any of those areas do it well and constantly.
I agree. I don't believe that we are operating in a manner that is sustainable to that definition. I think there's always room for improvement no matter where we're at. But I know Earth isn't. I know the United States isn't. Like we're laughably behind.
Yeah.
Michigan. I mean, I don't believe even our town. There, we're in the U.S. It's a consumer culture. We have more. Well, I used to say this town only had bars and churches. Now it has bar, churches, and dollar stores.
Oh, that is true.
That is, and a third one coming.
Yup.
So yes, we have a dollar store per 1,000 people. As soon as that one comes in, by the way,
That is true.
Durand, Durand only has 3,200 people in the city, but we will have $3 stores to meet their needs. So I'm going to go on a limb and say we are not living a sustainable life as a community yet, even with an edible landscape project. It's just a minor dent.
Right.
Um, so going by that definition, it is we're woefully behind, I think is probably the best way to put it. But having the definition and understanding, it's good to have. Now, remember, I want to say this for anybody who is new and is watching this one because it's explaining sustainability. It is not the responsibility of individuals to change the world. It's our job to try, it's our job to get better. But when it comes to sustainability, us recycling a few things is not going to avert climate change. It's corporations changing what we can buy and how we operate and how long things last, getting into the culture all the way around the board. It isn't just us. And do not let them sell you on the concept as it's us. Coca Cola was a great example of really reminding us to recycle the bottles. It's our responsibility. Remember that. And that's because they were the leading producer of plastic waste in the world.
Oh,
So
wow.
how do you get off that list? Shame your customers into handling it for you. So just a quick reminder. Yes, we want to get better. Yes, we want to create sustainable actions. Yes, we want to see things in a sustainable manner, but it takes corporations playing the game too to really get it done. Do not let them shame you into thinking it's our fault.
I do think though that where you spend your dollar says a lot though also. So on like yes, it is and things need to change on a corporate widespread scale, but where you choose to spend your dollar also affects those corporations. And if enough people choose to spend their dollar in a sustainable way, then the corporations almost have to try to follow suit for
Yeah,
what the consumer wants.
you vote with your money.
Yep.
Yeah, you absolutely do vote with your money, just like you vote with your vote.
Yeah. Yep.
So those are two actions that are probably some of the strongest that we have. Vote for people aligned with the ideals that you have, and vote with your money. If we want to help move corporations into the right lane, and we'll talk about corporations over the last 5 years here in a few minutes, then vote with your money. And if you can't find someone to vote for your money with, keep your money.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
a fantastic stress reliever. So, couple of things. The next thing is how do you grade the concept of sustainability? There's a bunch of different ways for individual products, but in general, you have to look at sustainability in three different ways, three different factors. Most people like two of them, but the third one does matter also. So the three pillars of sustainability are the environmental factor, the societal factor, and the economy, and how economically viable an idea is.
Okay, those are
So we
some
may
big words. No, I'm just
just
kidding. I'm gonna need some definitions here.
yeah. Hang on. So environmental stewardship's pretty easy. That's the pollution, soil degradation, the are we protecting land? Are we protecting large chunks of land to make sure that we have a very diverse wildlife and species mix? Air, water, what are we doing with our waste? All of these things are part of the environmental stewardship. Societal, that can be anything from work conditions, employee health, human health, rate of pay. What you're looking at is quality of life, including contributions to communities. What are you doing to make people's lives better?
Okay.
And and then the last one is the economy. It has to be economically viable to do something to get companies to do it. So a great example is when the federal government does something, people talk about it, they're always wasting money. And I'm going to use wind turbines as an example. They used to pour a ton of money and subsidies into wind turbines and solar panels that didn't work very well. They didn't
Mhm.
produce very much, and occasionally they just burst into flames.
Oh, nice.
But but it is the federal government's job.
Speaking of air quality.
Yes. But it is the federal government's job to finance bad tech until it becomes good tech. NASA used to buy their own equipment because they didn't really build it, but they bought their own rockets, they bought their own shuttles, and they operated their own equipment until spaceflight became so routine they could subcontract it out to corporations, and now they just pay for flights, which is a fraction of the cost. And now there's companies based on flight. Same thing now with solar and wind. The cost per kilowatt hour now is very low. It's now starting to become more and more competitive with burning things. And that started with the investment from the federal government getting things ready. So when we say the economy or economic viability, it means did we take all the risk as a nation first? Did we invest in it to the point where it's profitable? And then you can hand it over when it's profitable, or companies won't do it.
So to clarify, you are saying that they have done or are doing that with the turbines and the
Solar.
solar. Yeah.
Yes, they did since the 70s. They've actually just started backing off how much money they're investing because it is becoming commercial, which is funny because they're not backing off the oil. They've been investing in that in a long period of time, and they continue to do so with fossil fuels. But with renewables, because the cost can get so small, these things run. I mean, a photovoltaic panel can convert sunlight into electricity in a sense forever. I mean, will it degrade over time and be damaged over time? Absolutely. But it can produce forever. There'll be new technologies that come out and you'll want to replace it. But so over time, you're taking these minimal costs and dividing it by the period of time it produces something. So they've started reducing that subsidy. Now they're going to more tidal uh, collection. They're doing other things, more biofuels, which is still burning, but they're investing in other things because these are becoming cheap. So you have to make it viable, hand it off, and then commercial companies take it from there.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Well, how many times do you hear about the government waste all this money on technology that doesn't work? It's kind of their job because we don't know if it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the companies they invest in fall apart and die. But the only way we know is by investing in that technology and then letting it become part of our network if it does succeed. Because you're not going to get a public company to invest billions or even trillions of dollars into something that's unknown in the
Yeah, I was
hopes,
just thinking that. Yeah.
yeah, in the hopes that it will bring them something back later. Not a prayer. Not going to happen.
Huh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, that's why we have cell phones. It would cost any of these cell phone providers trillions of dollars to roll out that network. The US government wildly subsidized that cost because the United States needed a nationwide network. They needed multiple nationwide networks, redundancies that the US government can use in case of emergency. So
Really?
you feed the Verizons of the world, the AT&Ts, the T-Mobiles, a ton of money, and they build you a wonderful network that they get to make money on. We collect a small amount of taxes because they do tax avoidance, and they get the nationwide network that can be used.
And I get to scroll mindlessly through Facebook.
Yes, and play the game. What's the new game that has your
Oh,
attention?
Klondike.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. Last I knew that was an ice cream bar.
I'm basically farming.
You're farming.
And I'm starting a new community.
Ah,
Very
gotcha.
important work. Very important.
Yes. So those three pillars, when we look at anything, are how you can identify if something's going well in the eyes of sustainability. A lot, and I mean a lot, hit one, sometimes two. It is very rare for it to be all three. Now, companies will say they're doing all three, but the actions will not meet it. They'll sell you on the actions, but those actions do not meet the criteria of all three of those. And we can grade ourselves in that manner. Am I doing anything good or bad to the environment? Am I doing good or bad with local society? And am I doing good and bad in the local economy? I can kind of grade myself in that same manner.
I think you've been pretty sustainable in the household lately. You folded my laundry.
You know why?
Why?
Because I've had more energy,
I've
I
noticed.
mental clarity. I think people are
Yes.
knowing where this is going. This is Jamison's amazing segue into me talking about Magic Mind.
I
I've
thought it
been getting
myself, all by myself. I thought this one up.
I as listeners know, if you've heard the last few episodes or even some from a year ago, Magic Mind, the Magic Mind mental performance shots. I was lucky enough to get a couple of boxes from Magic Mind. And I will be honest, I have felt sluggish because during this time off, I've gained more weight instead of losing weight. Got to love desk jobs. I have not been as active as I wanted. And I've even had what depresses me more than anything is that brain fog, not being able to remember things very well. So, as we were coming back to the air, Magic Mind got a hold of me and said, "Hey, if you're coming back, we want to come back." And they've been able to give me those shots. So that's why she's making that comment because I have been more active as of late, helping around the house, doing some of the laundry. I even went to Dabo and was cleaning the back of the property. It looks beautiful.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
did a good
because
job.
I feel better.
Yep. And you're remembering when you've already told me things, so you're not telling me things twice or 3 or 4 times. I really appreciate that one the most.
Yeah, I do that. Well, so let's just take a second here. Those mental performance shots help create better mental focus, relieve stress, which I'm really excited about, and you do it without the jitters. It's not a caffeine shot. It is not a energy drink in that manner because it only has, was it 55 milligrams of caffeine, which is what fraction of what a cup of coffee would have, but it does have 100% of your vitamin C and your B12. And thus far, I've noticed, and it sounds like Jameson has too.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed a change. You've become, I mean, you're a very busy guy. So I joke around saying, oh, you've become helpful in the house and whatnot. But keep in mind, people, he's very busy between, work and dabble. And, we bought realistic sustainability back on. So he's always constantly on the go. And I always kind of give him fun little pokes. But, usually when he comes home, he's pretty beat, and sits down and kind of relaxes. But the last, what, you would take it about a week?
I'd say about a week and a half now, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So about a week or a week and a half, he's been coming home and helping me kick stuff out here at the house. It's great. I have noticed a real big difference and I appreciate it.
Well, and the thing I like best about them choosing to be a part of the show is simply that they allow me to say however I feel. Because I'll tell you, if it didn't work, I would just contact them and say I don't want to say on the air that it doesn't work.
Right.
And
Right.
let me just send them back. We'll just call it a
We're
day.
we're too honest
But
for that.
but they also heard, and another thing I like is they also heard that placement last week where we talked about Magic Mind with Nick and I, and
Where
how
you
I
were
gave,
hoarding them
yes, how I gave Nick none of them.
because you're
And it
mean.
sounds like they're going to send Nick some just because they felt bad because I'm mean and I
Aw.
squirreled him all the way at the house. And by the way, he has been to the house. He just never asked.
Oh, he had to specifically ask.
I didn't remember. Wink, 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 wink.
Right, right.
No, that's one of the things I really enjoy about him is the simple fact that, they found out Nick was left out and went straight to, well, then we need to send Nick some. So I
Yeah,
Magic Mind, thank you. That is very, very cool of you guys. And I do
it is.
appreciate the ones I've gotten. I'm going to end up having to subscribe because they're becoming quickly a point of my life. And I've eliminated my morning coffee.
I know you're not making me coffee anymore,
I
so
know.
maybe
You have
I
to
need
make your
some.
own. All right.
Uh, well, I will say though, you and I were discussing, the price point of it, and I pointed out that the cost of one of them is less than like a monster, and most people buy, a couple monsters a day. I know some
Well,
people, some nurses that buy, 2 and 3 and 4 monsters for which, holy cow, but you don't need that with
mm-mm.
while
And
taking it.
I won't drink energy drinks. I'm
Right.
not a fan, and I don't like the caffeine based drinks like that. I'd much rather have a vitamin shot like this
Right, absolutely.
with a lot more healthy additions to it. So I don't know. It's
Absolutely.
probably going to have to be a permanent part of my life because as a science guy, I always ask, is it placebo? But the reality is, it doesn't matter. I'm functioning better.
I don't think it
I'm
is. I
I'm
don't
gonna
believe it's a
roll with it.
placebo.
I'm gonna roll with it. So, anyways, let's get back to the show. One of the things we did in that first episode was talk about other terminology to understand too. Two of them are very important. One of them is embodied energy. Do you know what embodied energy is?
I do. The energy, and I only know this from learning from you, the energy that it takes to create and create and package and ship the item, like all of it. I don't know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. You probably know what I'm
You're
saying.
there. You're not
I
far
just don't
off.
know words.
embodied energy is all of the energy cost. So all of the joules of energy, however you're measuring it, from the concept of wanting it through disposal. So you were right. You were talking about the embodied energy process or the life cycle of it, which is you have a conception of something, then you go get raw materials. Those raw materials are then turned into a workable material, and so on and so forth, from factory to factory to factory, plus your shipping, plus your warehousing. And depending on some things, let's say blue jeans, for an example, sometimes the bulk of your embodied energy is in the use phase, which is I wear them and wash them all the time. So it's the amount of energy embedded into something through the creation and disposal of it.
I don't remember the word jewels. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
You did a much better job explaining that.
When you're shopping for things, I used to buy the cheapest thing, and then I would get to buy that same cheapest thing next year and the
Yep.
year after. And
Yep.
the embodied energy from something made on the other side of the planet from materials that came from this side of the planet is very, very high. And I
Yeah.
hope that there's going to be a day, because with our food products, they put calories on the package. And they do that because in some way we look at that and can make a reasonable educated decision on if we want to eat it. Does it make us not eat it? Not always, but there are times I pick things up and go, wow, that is a whole day's worth of food in that. I'm going to skip the frosted honey bun this week. So it does do its job in some manner. You look at that and you have a better chance of making an educated decision. What I would rather see next to that is an embodied energy score or total.
I don't think rather. I think also would be good.
Yeah,
An
right next to it.
additive. Yeah.
Because, for example, if you have an apple in our store right now, if we go up to Meyer or Riverside, there is an apple that came from Michigan. Michigan grows a lot of apples this time of year. And
Hmm.
there will also be an apple, marketably cheaper, that came from China. They're both apples, but one of theirs embodied energy is wildly different than the other. And I bet you if you took those apples side by side and said apple A from Michigan is $1 and apple B from China is 75 cents, but then you show a 10 times embodied energy, you're about to sell a lot more Michigan apples.
Right. Yeah. As
As
you
long as
should.
as long as people learn it and understand it and know what that means. And if it's on the package, at some point they will learn it.
No, I agree. I think that's that would be a good add to any product, really. I mean, it is hard sometimes because I feel like with some corporations, they will say, "Oh, this is," how do they say it? It doesn't
It's
necessarily say
loopholes.
made in the United States. Yeah, it'll say made, but usually it's just packaged here, or they're tricky tricksters.
Well, and some companies will then put a small office in a country, ship the completed product, box it there, and say, made in the United States. But
Right.
if you are collecting all of the embodied energy
It
and
can't lie.
they have to show you where it came from, how it got here, and how it's packaged, and then a score is given, they can no longer play that game.
Right, right,
And
which would be amazing for people like me who I'm like, "Oh, it's, made in the US, it's made in Michigan," but then somebody's like, "No, it's not really," and I'm like, "Ugh." Like, I thought I was doing great, but I'm not.
I believe when it comes to regulation, sometimes we have to do those things. We have to create a regulation that is, in a sense, bulletproof, where they can't play that game because corporations will,
Right.
because they get to use it as marketing. The word organic has been changed so dramatically in the from realism to a marketing term. And I know you're laughing at me
This is
because
why
I get
I
all
hate
wound
going
up.
to the grocery store with you. I have to say this real quick. Some poor little grocer kid who's like just trying to make their couple bucks fresh out of high school, or probably still in high school, is standing there and he's like, "Oh, do you want the organic lettuce?" And then what do you say, Michael?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked that there is inorganic lettuce that we are allowed to eat. So
Yeah.
I tend to ask to see the inorganic lettuce.
And then the
which
poor confused kid takes you to the not organic, quote unquote, lettuce, and then you proceed to tell him.
I
Go
try
ahead.
not to do that as often. I try not to do that quite as often. But yes, and it because they've changed the term organic to something that has nothing to do with live matter, like it's supposed to be comes from live matter, where now it is a criteria of different things in which what happened to this plant prior to me getting it, what is sprayed on it, what is used to grow it, all these factors that have really no bearing on the word organic. It took off as a marketing term and they've bastardized it all the way to the end now. It's useless on a package.
And this poor kid just sits there staring at him so kindly and nicely, going, "Shut up, dude. Just shut up."
I don't get
You can see it
mad.
written all over his face. No, not your face, the kid's face. But it really it makes grocery shopping not sustainable because then we're there for 2 hours.
Or was it it's been a long time, but the last time you went with me and someone we were looking at light bulbs and someone asked, "Do you know anything about these?" And Jamie went, "See ya." Just left the
Oh god.
aisle.
The minute she asked, I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna be here forever."
She was very happy with the level of service I gave her in a place that I don't work.
Yes, she was, she was.
And
And then other people joined around. It was like a whole community of people learning about light bulbs with with
oh, it,
Mike and his light bulb lesson.
and since we're on a tangent, the last time I think you and I both went to Lansing to Horrocks together. No, I was there by myself this time because I did have my hemp nets for some of the produce, but with the rest of the things I bought, they asked me paper or plastic. And after seeing the hemp nets and the things I was purchasing, it was like they were already grabbing the paper.
I think
And I
you were
said,
with Addison,
and I
and
said, no,
she
no,
came
no.
home irritated.
I said, yes, I know she doesn't like it either. No, I'm taking the more sustainable option today. I want the plastic bag, which caused all kinds of confusion. So we just talked about the embodied energy between a plastic bag and a paper bag. I'm only taking one, and I really didn't have a ton of stuff to put in it. I would have much rather have just given me a cardboard box off the floor like it's an Aldi's. But at least this bag I can use for several lunches and then maybe a trash bag. Where the paper bag, the moisture from some of these things, it'd be ruined by the time I got home. And it has like 10 times the embodied energy. The only difference is recyclability or the ability to shred it and throw it in the yard if I wanted to. So I just used that bag a bunch of times and then finally used it as a trash bag. I could have even taken it to some of the sites where they do recycle them. They don't recycle them into more bags, but they do attempt to do something with it. And so I was explaining that because the cashier asked. And next thing you know, my daughter wants out of the building because there's like 9 or 10 people around us. And we're talking the merits of paper versus plastic.
Mhm. Yep. And I have to say, it's great information. When it's the first time you've heard it, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this. He knows all the things." But when you've been to a store thousands of times with this man and he's gotta tell new people, it takes a strain on our
I
patience.
think I've been very clear that you're exceptionally patient and you suffer through me.
Oh, I suffer with you, dear.
So
Oh,
the next term, because there is another term I want to go through real quick, is a life cycle. That
okay.
is the product, that is the journey from existing to not existing. So not just the embodied energy, but what are the processes this product goes through. This is how you assess. It's like breaking up embodied energy into bite-sized pieces. So when I talked about blue jeans, I talked about its use phase. Once it's gone through production, it's made it to me. I still have to count all the energy that goes into it when I wash them all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember when I learned that because I quit washing blue jeans after a single wear. Now anything that is denim,
Phantom.
I'm not sure what that was. Anything that is denim gets worn several times unless I'm, working outside or that really needs to be washed. That's where I learned that because the more you wash something, the more embodied energy you're pouring into these items, and the less they last.
Yes, that is very true. They wear
So,
down a lot easier.
so when you look at life cycles, you're going to look at the creation phase, the use phase, the disposal phase, and that helps break up if a company is trying to get better sustainably with their materials. A lot of times they'll break them into life cycle sections and try to lower the embodied energy in each section.
Okay.
Because there are businesses out there that are trying to create a circular economy. That is, and you see it most with Apple. They want their old phone back now
Yes, they do.
because of all the precious metals that are still inside.
Yeah, and
They
I also recently heard, are they mining our garbage dumps for cell phones? Is that
if
a
they're
true thing?
If they're not, they will be. I actually I don't remember which episode. I think it was the Future of Electronics episode. We talked about that. That once it
Oh,
becomes too hard to find certain materials, the best place for them to look in the future is the landfill. At some point, those ski resorts are all going to get remined.
goodbye, Mount Holly.
Yep. Because we threw away so much stuff without the concept of maybe needing those, especially when certain materials are 100% recyclable.
Right,
Aluminum's a fantastic example. It's cheaper to
right.
recycle than it is to smelt bauxite.
Actually, aluminum's what's getting Grace into Europe this year.
Yes. Yes, it is. He is recycling the heck out of some aluminum.
He is.
So when you look at yourself, when you look at products, you can look at life cycles, you can look at embodied energy. And I think in the past on embodied energy, we talked about looking at packaging. Is there multiple layers of plastic that you can't get through? Is it plastic, then a printed outside? The more layers you see, the more embodied energy is in something. It's kind of like when you go to the store and you see the peeled orange in the clamshell container that makes me want to freak out. Like as if I just wish nature would have created some kind of coating for that orange to keep it safe to get it home.
Right, right.
Eh, But that wildly increases the embodied energy of that single mandarin or orange. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. On the personal side, I've done terrible. The
Well,
garden,
let's start with what have you done what have we kept up on? Let's do that first. I threw
um,
y'all off. I threw y'all off, didn't
well, well, I have
I?
notes. I write a show, but no, just kidding.
I'm not following your notes.
I have fallen off the wagon tremendously. Now, I've not fallen all the way off, but I can tell from weight gain. I can tell from lack of exercise. Our garden doesn't exist. It's a jungle in the back. So those of you who used to follow all the cool things that happened in my garden, it is like when nature takes a building over. It's over. All that has to come out. Maybe someday I can get a greenhouse back there.
Well,
But
and we built it originally with wood. We did paint the wood with, to keep it a couple years, but wood plus water plus dirt resting on it really didn't hold up. So we're pulling all of that out. It's been hot, so it's been in a pause stage. And yes, we have a jungle, but
mm,
we're replacing it with some metal trough like ones. So those ones aren't they'll last longer, we'll say. So we changed our route there.
a
Um,
little bit of learning, sometimes the hard way. They used to be gorgeous back there. It's just destroyed now.
Now it's just
The
embarrassing.
Now before and just to remind everybody, if you've been listening through the show throughout the whole time, you know that I struggled last year. My job was very demanding. Now it's just a job, but I still have it. So I still have my normal everyday job. We still have Dabble. We still have the Edible Landscape Project, which by the way needs a little love. So hoping to recruit some friends this week or even on the 4th of July to go clean up some gardens
Yeah,
because
we've
it
had a lot of heat and a lot of rain and a lot of sun, and it has
Mhm.
done a number with the weeds.
Right, right. So we've kept those things up. We have a STEM, we work with a STEM company that's not just in the north end of Flint anymore, but LA. So I spent some of my layoff time in LA working out there with them. There's been a lot of things. Now we're looking at rehabbing an old duplex. That's going to take
Mhm.
some effort, but it's right here in the downtown space. It allows us to create 2 more homes. It's within walking distance of our downtown space. And some of Jamie's favorite things to do: tear apart old houses and hope you find cool things.
And ghosts.
And no, or apparently ghost. So in general, I have struggled. I have tried to keep up with our nightly dinners as much as possible. We One thing we have done is greatly reduce the amount of meat in our
Yep.
general diet.
Yep.
That is actually probably the biggest thing that we've done and kept. I rarely have any kind of sodas. We're kind of a water, tea, coffee, Magic Mind kind of drink that type situation for myself.
Um, I've
For
been
my,
just a hot person.
Yes, I slid that myself part in.
Okay. I was gonna say, if we're
So
being completely transparent,
so when
I
it
just really
comes
like pop.
So when it comes to our household, again, we still have the large house and we were looking to downsize, but we ran into this big, beautiful duplex that we got to do first, then we can downsize.
Mhm.
It seems like since the struggles carried into every aspect. So I'm hoping now that things are back on track and we're working our way through it, we can slowly go back to fixing some of these things.
Well, there's quite a few things that we tried in the sustainability world that we've kept around. I mean, we still do the dryer balls, which I mean, sometimes those get lost because the dog steals them if they're in a laundry basket. So we have to keep an eye on them. He doesn't tear them
Detergent
up.
sheets.
Yeah, we do the detergent sheets. I really am liking those because I used to make my own laundry soap and it was a huge undertaking because I would make a 5-gallon bucket worth of laundry soap and it lasts for a really long time, but it was large for one, and for two, it took a lot, and three, I had to air out the house and blah blah blah, long story.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I really like the laundry sheets. Those are great. They're very compact. You're still using your toothbrush, your or not the same one.
Oh my.
Sounded
Yeah,
gross.
the
Yeah,
bamboo
for
toothbrushes.
5 years. No. It
Yeah.
sounded
Oh
gross.
my.
No, he does switch out his bamboo toothbrushes, but he uses the toothbrushes. I can't. I'm still not on the toothbrush bandwagon. That's
Well, there's a texture thing with bamboo toothbrushes. Either you have to get used to it or you just can't. Having wood,
yeah, the
uh,
bristles aren't bad. It's I don't know, it's the wood part that
mhm,
I don't know. I don't know why I can't do it. But yeah, there's quite a few things that we've maintained.
greatly
Um,
reduce the energy consumption in the house, and that still seems to be coming down as we continue on.
well, and we were just talking about this the other night, the fact that we actually spent the extra money, which hurt in the first hurt originally. We had somebody come out and completely replace our air conditioner because it did end up just dying, didn't it? Or something was wrong
Mhm.
with it. Yeah. So it ended up dying and we completely had it replaced. But in replacing it and put in the gentleman was super smart. He was really knowledgeable about, all of even the way the air ducts were and this and that. He really made it so our overall efficiency with our air conditioner has been tremendous. So while yes, we did have to get rid of the old air conditioner, which, in the terms of sustainability, getting rid of that is, junk in it, but this new one is saving a lot. It's not running as much energy. It's more efficient. It's keeping the house cooler. And even the upstairs, which we're in a very old house. So it didn't ever get air upstairs. Now it's helping with the kids upstairs. So they're not running the window air conditioner as much. I mean, there have been some changes that have been made that I feel are sustainable, even though they
Yeah.
hurt in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, they were very much improvements. I feel like we could have gotten so much further, but over the last 6, 7, 8 months, it's been very, very challenging. So hopefully
Right.
getting back on track is the way to go. By the way, if you're in this area, it's Accurate HVAC out of Bancroft. That's who helped us with ours, and they did an amazing job. The
Yeah.
design we had was flawed, and I was constantly replacing parts. They changed the airflow, reduced all the issues with how air circulated through the house. We use a fraction of the energy, but the comfort in the whole home is better. I always worry that that stuff is a sales pitch, but this one really made a massive difference. So Accurate HVAC in Bancroft, if anybody's from this area. Now, I know when we look at countries that are sustainable, the United States is not on that list. It is nowhere near that list. It is generally smaller countries who it makes it a little easier to make those changes, or the citizens are more likely to accept those changes. Here in the United States, you have political ideologies that are firmly against any kind of change. Could be for the better, could be for the worse, but they're going to protest it either way. But I did go and look at the top 9 countries, and I don't think we're going to be surprised, except for maybe Slovenia being one of the top ones. But Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, Austria, Iceland, Luxembourg, Costa Rica. Are you shocked by any of those other than Slovenia?
No, I don't know. Costa Rica, though, is kind of like, I mean, those are all, the majority of them are all in the same area-ish.
Same
Costa Rica's,
region.
yeah, Costa Rica's kind of, but that's cool, though.
Yeah, the smaller countries make it a little easier. It's much harder in larger countries, especially when it's been politicized far too
Right,
much.
right.
Before we start to get close to wrapping up, and I know we're getting there, I want to talk about some corporate stuff. I said earlier today that in order for sustainability to take root in the United States, yes, our dollar will help push corporations in that direction. Our actions will help, but we really have to have corporations on that side of the fence. Now, I think the first episode back, I had brought up a story about me going to my contract house's celebration meeting for last year, where they were wildly excited about the massive amount of money they made while every employee took a pay cut.
Right.
And then they invited us for them to give each other awards and celebrate all the new property they bought based on these massive profits, which is
Insulting.
insult. Yeah. Yeah. As I say, yes, I think insulting is a better term. Corporate profits in the United States have jumped ridiculously. I showed you a graph before I left to
Yeah,
go record, and
yeah,
after the plunge of 2020, it is almost vertical.
yeah.
Like they are
Believe it.
collecting massive 25% growth in profits while wildly reducing headcount, moving people to part-time, making people work 4 days a week and only get 4 days of pay and work 4 times harder or collect multiple jobs. Remember, the problem I had is the job I had before included many people's jobs,
Yeah.
and I had a hard time keeping up. I was really struggling mentally. I was really struggling at my performance, and I
And
wasn't the only person.
you always just felt like you were failing constantly. And I'm like, you're not. I kept saying, you're not failing. You're like, I'm always behind. But
Well, not only are these profits shooting through the roof, right? Record numbers, by the way.
mhm,
And with companies who are screaming poverty at times. For example, we all remember the celebration that John Deere was going to keep everything in the United States and add all these different jobs, they just announced that they're moving their plants to Mexico.
oh,
And as we know, that has a whole different thing. We can probably do a short on that, on why that is. There is a reason, but the profits, the margin on those profits have widened the gap by nearly 5%. Like they used to make about 11 or 12%. They're now at 16, 17, 18%. So when you look at things like that, and let's look at these corporations. Are they doing very well with the environmental standards? Are they doing very well with social? Just that conversation, just that more than 50% of inflation has come from corporate profits.
wow,
So if that is true, they're breaking that social contract by having a lesser quality of life for employees. Corporations have created a situation where workers are now making less, either through releasing them and bringing them back, like what has happened with me. I went from one company to another to stay in the same job that had a reduction. Some people are being told to work less days and get paid less. And that is happening even in professional fields where they're making them work 4 days and making that one day off, not even a useful day off. They'll stick it as like a Tuesday or something. CEOs' incomes
Have
from
skyrocketed.
the median CEO income, which has jumped, I think it was like 16%, if I remember correctly, is up to the middle is up to 23.7 million for one person who is directing the ship, if you will.
Wow, that's
So
infuriating.
since
Like, I don't know if you want me to comment on any of this part.
since COVID, that unique situation that we all just kind of had to figure out how to work our way through, grading things through those three pillars. I don't think that they're holding their end of the bargain up at the moment.
No,
They are
absolutely
not.
not.
The social contract, that's not actually economically sustainable. So when we
No,
talked about economic sustainability, we did talk about profits, but we also have to talk about investment, not buying your own stock back so it looks like your profits are less, but investing in your staff and investing in your community, investing in the people around you. And we're seeing a gross withdrawal from
yeah,
that stuff. So although you and I may have taken some steps back, I think that corporations as a whole, don't get me wrong, there's good ones out there. There are ones that you can go in and look at their sustainability pages and know that they're doing things better. One of the ones I used to love talking to, and I haven't had a chance to in a while, was Ball Horticulture. These are people who care, and sustainability is part of the culture of that company. So there are companies out there that do care, they operate correctly, and they understand that sustainability can be good for them, not making people drive in while yelling they can't make their sustainability goals, like we've heard a lot of large companies do.
right.
Like they don't necessarily understand. They need to go back and understand what embodied energy is. They need to go back and look at the life cycles. They just don't. They've taken their sustainability department and made them a branch of marketing. So
Yeah, I do remember you when you were talking to Ball, you seemed really impressed with them, with kind of their overall way of doing things,
my
their
favorite was I learned from them. Like simple conversation. I didn't know blue was not a color in nature when it comes to plants. Like that's good to know. That's a guy who's trying to make a blue pepper. I need to know that, or I will spend my whole life getting purple peppers.
right.
But that's what I liked is the knowledge share, that the fact that they're doing the lunch and learns and they're doing these things looking for the right people to
Right.
have conversations with their staff. So
Yeah.
I know there's companies out there. They gave me a little more faith. I know that there's some out there that are really trying. And
Right. And
I'm
willing to
hoping,
learn.
yep. And I'm hoping that as we see those companies out there, we vote with those dollars.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think that's what I had for this week. Not to end on a sad, mean corporate note, but it just happened to be the end of the show. So I'll have to lighten it up at the end if I can. Let's see. So Nick told me last week I screwed up the whole ending of the show, which
I
for
just
those of
listened
you,
to it and I didn't feel you completely screwed it up. You just
I
missed
just
something.
I just skipped half of it. But for those of anybody who's been listening the whole time, they know I screw it up all the time. We've put some
Right.
of the goof ups on the website and all that fun jazz.
Well, and
So
that's just kind of par for the course. I'm sure they look forward to the screw ups.
yeah, great. So let's go into the closing and see how it goes. Thank you all for listening. If you like this episode, share it with a friend or on social media. It helps us out tremendously. If you want to help us in other ways, make sure you follow us. That's a great way to do it. The more followers we have, then those wonderful algorithms start throwing us out there. So it doesn't matter which platform that you click it on, or click it on all of them. That makes it work out pretty good too. We greatly appreciate it. Again, a special thanks to Magic Mind. I know I said I screwed up the end last time, but it was not because my mind was cloudy. It's because I didn't prepare for it. So thank you, Magic Mind, for helping me get rid of the brain fog and keeping my mind clear so that I can make these changes, plus letting me get up, get something good in my system. I start my day with 100% of all my vitamin C and B12. So Thank you very much. And if anybody else would like to help realistic sustainability and themselves, go to magicmind.com and use the promo code RSPOD20 and get your own. Try them out. If you like them, stay on them. I'd like to hear your feedback because mine it's worked out pretty good for me. So again, magicmind.com, RSPOD20. Use that code, get 20% off. Thank you all so very much for listening. And remember, really all we're trying to do is get a little better. Little bit, big bit. Thanks again for listening. I'm Mike.
I'm Jamison.
And we will see you later.
Bye.